first describing the corrosion definition. Okay, so it is the decay of any metal due to chemical or electrochemical reaction with environment is called corrosion. At the same time, if you see the factors that are affecting the corrosion, in that the first factor is pH, area of cathode and anode, moisture, temperature and nature of the film. So these are actually your factors. Now what you will do is you will go ahead and explain each and every one of this factor. In that, if you see here very clearly, pH is the first factor, and you are very well aware that rate of corrosion is faster in acidic medium and slower in basic medium. The second factor, that is you have anodic and cathodic area. Okay, so if you see here, the rate of corrosion is having some kind of relation with the showing in formula. Rate of corrosion is equal to area of cathode divided by area of anode. Okay, so if the cathode area is more, you can see here there is a direct relation. So if cathode area is more, then rate of corrosion is also more, and if cathode area is less, then rate of corrosion is also less. The third factor, that is moisture, you all are very well aware that the moisture, if the amount of moisture is more, then the rate of corrosion is also more. The fourth factor that comes out to be is temperature. So in that, there is a detailing that you can see very clearly, that there are two types of the basically temperature dependent corrosion. That is, temperature is oxygen absorbed type corrosion increases with decrease in temperature, while hydrogen evolved type corrosion increases with increase in moisture. So this one has to clearly remember, there is oxygen absorbed type corrosion and another is hydrogen evolved type corrosion. So these two depends on the temperature in a very different manner. The fifth factor that we can take is nature of the film. Okay, if the metal oxide film, you know very clearly that metal is reacting with the oxygen from the atmosphere and going to form metal oxide film. If metal oxide film formed, okay, it is actually very porous. Porous means it is very soft. Then what will happen? More oxygen will penetrate inside and rate of corrosion will be faster. But if metal oxide film is very strong and stable, then what will happen? The rate of corrosion will be higher if the metal oxide film is strong and stable, because what happens? The oxygen will not penetrate easily and hence the rate of corrosion will be less. It will slow down compared to the porous film. Okay, so these are the factors that one has to explore. Let us take the next question. They have given the weightage in the GTU paper. You have question 3. Answer the following questions. In that, you have A part, that is explain the formation of ionic bond with suitable example. Write the characteristic of ionic compound. So what they are demanding is, in the first question, that you are supposed to understand. See, the first question, you are supposed to write down the ionic bond formation, that is you will write down the definition, you will write down the chemical reaction, that is the example, how showing how the ionic bond is formed, and then you will be describing characteristics of the ionic compound. This ionic compound characteristics, its reactions and its definition, all the three together put up in one answer will give the weightage of the 5 marks. So we have to ensure that we are covering all the points in this answer. The second thing, that is B, write down the formula, properties and uses of following materials. Okay, so for that we have bakelite, we have thiocall. So what they are asking, we have to write down the formulas, that is your monomers. Then you have to write down the properties of bakelite, and then you have to write down the uses of the bakelite and thiocall, that is applications. So when you are covering all the three things together for first and second, bakelite and thiocall, it will together give you the answer of the 5 marks. Okay, the third thing, that is you are asked 4 definitions for the 4 marks in the C part. So suppose they are asking the 4 definition, each definition is having the weightage of the 1 mark. So it is very clear, when you are studying the GTU question paper, the first thing that is kept to be very clear is you can write down the ionic bond formation with the example and also the characteristics. Then you can write down the formula, properties and uses of the following materials, and you can write down the definition exploring each one of them in the detail. Let us understand how to write down the answer. See the first question. What we are going to do? We are going to explain the formation of ionic bond with suitable example. That is, you can write here very clearly, bond formed by transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom in order to achieve stable electronic configuration is your ionic bond. Okay, so first thing we have covered is the definition. Second thing, they are asking the suitable example. So we can take the example of NaCl, okay, sodium chloride. In that we can see very clearly, sodium is actually having the electronic configuration of 2, 8 and 1. So it is having 1 electron excess in the outermost orbital. So what happens? Sodium is giving Na++ electron. It means it is giving out 1 electron. At the same time, you can see chlorine is accepting the 1 electron and results in formation of the Cl- ions. So this Na+ and Cl- is going to combine together to form the NaCl, that is sodium chloride compound, which is neutral in the nature. Okay, so this is actually how the ionic bond is formed in the sodium chloride. Okay, so first is sodium atom, it is actually losing electron. Second atom chlorine is actually accepting the electron. So our definition is very clear that this ionic bond is formed by the transfer of electrons, and from where the transfer is occurring, the transfer of electron is taking place from sodium to chlorine. Okay, and resulting compound is your sodium chloride. What is the next task? We have covered the definition, we have covered the example, and then we are going to cover the characteristics of ionic compound, so that we can see here very clearly. These are the characteristics. What does it states? Characteristic states that ionic compounds are hard and crystalline solid. Okay, so they are soluble in water. You know, sodium chloride salt that we are eating is actually soluble in the water. So they are hard crystalline solid. They are soluble in water. They are insoluble in organic solvent. They are good conductors of electricity in molten state. What does it means? That it can conduct electricity in the molten state. They have high melting point and boiling point. Okay, so these are the characteristics that completes our entire 5 marks answer in the GTU. There are so many things that one has to write down when the question is asked in a different manner. They have asked the formation, we have given the definition, we have shown the example with the reaction, and also we have given the characteristics of the ionic compound. They are hard, crystalline solid, soluble in water, insoluble in the organic solvent. They are good conductor of electricity in molten state. They have high melting point and boiling point, and this completes the entire 5 marks answer. Next question. You can see here very clearly, write the formula, properties and uses of the following materials. In GTU they were asked so many things. There are 3 things that we have to cover in the answer. We have to write down the formula, we have to write down the properties, and we have to write down the uses. Okay, so first thing is that bakelite properties. We are enlisting the properties of the bakelite. It is also known as phenol formaldehyde resin. It is hard, rigid, strong material. It have excellent heat and water resistance. It is having good electrical resistance. It is having low molecular weight. So these are basically a very important properties of the bakelite that we are supposed to list down. Then we will move ahead to the applications of the bakelite. You know that bakelite is having specific properties and hence it is used as bonding adhesive in plywood. Okay, so that's you have to remember, it is used as bonding adhesive in the plywood. It is used to make insulator parts like switches, plugs, handles, etc. Okay, so whatever insulators we are using in the daily life are made up of bakelite. It is used to make radio and TV cabinets, telephone parts, etc. It is used in varnishes. It is used in ion exchange process. Okay, so this one has to remember whenever you are writing the applications of the bakelite. The next thing that they have asked is thiocall. Let us try to understand what is thiocall. The properties of the thiocall are given here is it has high flexibility and excellent resistance to gasoline oil. Okay, so thiocall is actually very flexible and it is highly resistant to gasoline oil, aromatic solvent, and you have light and air resistance too. It has good tear resistance and low permeability to gases. So this one has to remember. It cannot be made hard. So it means what? Vulcanization of thiocall is not possible. It is not possible to make this thiocall hard. So this is a very important property of the thiocall. It itself is very hard. It is very flexible. It is excellent resistant to the aromatic solvents, gasoline oil. It is good tear resistant, having the low permeability to the gases. These are the properties. Next thing, what are the applications of the thiocall? You can see very clearly the applications of the thiocall is to coat wires and cables, to manufacture gaskets. It is used for lining oil tanks. Okay, so these are the chief applications. As it is acting as an insulator kind of thing, you can see that you can coat the wire and cables with the thiocall. Also to manufacture gaskets, and it is used for lining the oil tanks. So these are the important points that one has to cover while writing the GTU answer. Let us try to describe what was the question. They have asked for the properties, they have asked for the uses, and they have asked for the formula. So bakelite properties we have described. It is hard rigid material, excellent resistant to water and heat, good electrical resistance, low molecular weight. We have seen the applications. Used as a bonding adhesive in plywood, used to make insulator parts like switch, plugs, handles, etc. Used to make radio and TV cabinets, telephone parts. Used in varnish, used in ion exchange processes. Same way for the thiocall, high flexibility, excellent resistance to gasoline, aromatic solvent, light and air. It has good tear resistance, low permeability to gases. It cannot be made hard. So these are the properties. It means difficult to vulcanize. Applications of the thiocall, that is to coat wire and cables, to manufacture gaskets, used for lining the oil tanks. So this much that is has to be written when you are attempting the GTU question. Let us see the third thing, that is question 3C. You can see here the 4 definitions are asked in the paper. Each definition is having the weightage of the 1 marks. Okay, so the first definition that is asked is what is oxidation. You can straightway write down the removal of electrons is called oxidation. Then the definition of the lubricant, any substance introduced between two moving or sliding surfaces to reduce the frictional resistance between them is called lubricant. So this much is enough for today.